On a midtown rooftop washed clean by a soft Atlanta shower, she slow danced with him under patient city lights. He asked her favorite childhood cereal instead of her job title, and she laughed unguarded, saying Cinnamon Toast Crunch. He smiled and swore he'd convert from golden grams, then pointed at planes scribbling silver across the sky. When the song ended, he didn't rush to goodbye. He cradled the moment like a vinyl sleeve. At her car door, he used both hands, gentle as a musician with a violin. She drove home feeling held for once by something warm and possible, back in her West End apartment. She set her phone on the counter and watched the screen glow with his goodnight. She built systems for a living, clean APIs, quiet alerts, dashboard that told the truth. But love had always thrown exceptions. Tonight felt different. He remembered little things. Her stand-up time, her dislike of cilantro, the way she tapped twice before saving. He texted a playlist called Focus/Float and a photo of a terrier wearing a sweater. She cued the music, unspooled her scalpels of worry, and slept without guarding every corner of her heart for the first time in months. The green flags kept arriving quietly. On Sunday, he brought shrimp and grits in a mason jar and asked about the last gnarly bug she solved. She told him how a flaky server stabilized after she changed retry logic. He listened with awe instead of envy. They ate on the floor, laughing because the butter was reckless. He quoted a line from her favorite movie and remembered her cousin's name, her shoulders lowered like blinds releasing. She decided to believe in this softness, to let a steady, human possibility keep time with her breathing, even while the city hissed outside. Then came the phrase between leases. One night on her couch slipped into a week. He folded laundry once, learned the gate code by heart, and set his sneakers beside hers like punctuation. The first time he asked to borrow her car, super quick. She handed him the keys, still humming from their rooftop sweetness. It returned at E, but he had tickets to a pop-up jazz set and promises about his brand about to break. We're a team, he said, kissing her forehead. Teams don't keep tabs, she told herself, ignoring the faint scraping sound of her boundaries shifting. The scraping grew into habits. A Shopify theme opened on her laptop because his card was being weird. She bought a domain because the name was too good to lose. App fees slid to her backup card, just until the store paid out. On a Sunday, a Slack ping. Could she quick fix checkout? She did, because she hates watching anything limp. When she mentioned rent, he called her corporate, like structure was an insult. I'm investing every hour in us, he said, standing in her kitchen with every light on. Brightness she alone kept paid and humming. She kept going. Zola noticed first. Chrome nails, QA brain sharp enough to cut fog. She dropped by with soup when migraines wrapped her temples and watched him pass a stack of plates to her, then slipped to the balcony to network. He doesn't stack, Zola said softly, nodding at the sink. He just eats. She tried to laugh it off. It's a season, she said, though the voice inside her flagged the incident critical. Seasons end, Zola replied. Parasites rebrand. The line landed, light as a feather and heavy as a verdict. She changed the subject to unit tests. Zola let her. Aunt Denise saw the memory leak. Sunday arrived with butter beans, cornbread, and a stare that unclipped pretense. He streamed live from the office chair she had bought herself, promising drops and destiny. Andy squeezed her hand. That boy growing with you or grazing? She asked without heat. The question nested under her ribs. She thought about uptime she guarded at work and how carelessly she'd exported her bandwidth at home. I'm fine, she said. Denise kissed her cheek, like a promise. You will be. Some truths require quiet to bloom. She heard them cracking open in the silence. The break arrived as an alert at 6:12 a.m. Her phone buzzed with charges on her personal card. 3 months of his store apps, a bulk order of blank tees. A second ping announced a new GitHub workspace he'd invited himself into. Her stomach went cold, then hard. That evening, she told him calmly, voice steady as a metronome, You use my accounts. My name. He shrugged like offense was romance. We're partners. You believe in me. I never said use my identity. Is money all you care about? He smirked. It wasn't money. It would consent labor, risk, and theft. She counted down, breath by breath. I need you moved out by Friday. He laughed like it was theater. Friday came. He didn't move. Saturday, he called her cruel. Sunday, he brought flowers and asked her to float 2 more weeks. Monday, she removed her card from every dashboard, revoked access, rotated passwords, and changed the Wi-Fi. Wednesday night, he was gone. He left a note. You'll regret this when I blow up. A smiley where an apology should be. The apartment felt like a server after a DDoS. Quiet, still vibrating from the hit, but returning to itself. She breathed. The crew arrived with takeout and a whiteboard, no toadies, only chairs pulled out and pens uncapped. They opened a window to cool the room and lit a small cedar candle, while they built what they always build, a plan. Zola wrote an acronym down the board like code you'd ship in a storm. SDACK subtract access. New passwords, 2-factor, audit tokens. Tally the debt. Domains, apps, ride shares. I'll Venmo later dinners. Ask formally. Certified demand with dates and a deadline. Close loops. Cancel renewals. Park domains to neutral gray. Keep receipts. Screenshot statements in his smiley note. Writing the ledger made her hands shake. The total blinked ugly and true. $7,312.86, not counting code, she comped. Zola slid ginger ale across the table like communion and printed the letter. She mailed it certified the next morning, steady as a nurse drawing blood. No subtweets, no speeches, no hints, just documentation. He responded with paragraphs about killing black love, calling her a colonizer for capitalism, demanding she honor our journey. He sent a Cash App request for emotional damages. She screenshotted, archived, and went to kickboxing to relearn her chin. Deadlines passed. She filed in small claims, precise, not petty, and brought the ledger, the demand letter, and a tidy story told without spice. He didn't show. Default judgment. The clerk's stamp thudded like something heavy setting down. In the hallway, a toddler dragged a stuffed giraffe while his mother adjusted a mask. The judge's door clicked open and closed with measured patience. Outside, buses sighed and pigeons bargained over a crust. She tucked the order into a folder labeled Keep and felt the scrape inside ease a fraction, the way a zipper settles once the teeth finally align. Meanwhile, life rebuilt its rhythm. Evening stopped asking for emergency rescue pains. Her billing stopped scratching at night. She began a small tool named Aftercare for freelancers tracking who owed what and when. It generated polite templates that said, "Pay me clearly," so users didn't have to scream. She labeled each module like a nurse labels vials, careful, legible, calm, and chose defaults that protected peace by design. Zola used it to nudge a studio that misplaced QA hours. Kiana corralled vendors who lost invoices monthly. Aunt Denise logged Tupperware and Sunday plates without shame, laughing that Thanksgiving was about to change. Karma skipped the drumline and mailed envelopes. The tea supplier pushes account to collections. Shopify apps, once buoyed by her card, blinked off. The domain she bought now parked at neutral gray. His brand shrank to boxes in a friend's garage and captions that no longer linked anywhere. He wasn't ruined. He simply had to carry what he'd asked others to lift. He texted, "You didn't have to go nuclear." She replied, "I asked. You ignored." He warned about burned bridges. Zola taped a quote to the fridge and pointed. "Some bridges are furnaces." She kept going. Then came a sharper correction months later, when he took a payroll job to steady housing. The garnishment attached like a seatbelt. A narrow slice of each check curved toward the ledger she and Zola tallied at her dining table. No audience, no balloons, no dunking, just math traveling the correct direction for once. She slid deposits to a goal named New Desk and returned her ticket without ceremony. Consequences weren't cruel. They were mirrors. It didn't roar or gloat. It simply arrived on time like a train, indifferent to anyone's narrative. Relief landed in humane increments, enough to breathe. He tried a housing angle next. "Can you co-sign?" he wrote, screenshotting a rejection. "You know I'm good for it." She glanced at her thriving potholes, glossy leaves from care she'd finally stopped exporting. "No," she answered. He sputtered. "You really doing me like this?" "I'm doing me like this," she replied, then muted the thread. She made tea, watched steam rise like a clean thought, and practiced letting silence finish sentences that used to trap her. The apartment held still, new and trustworthy, a room that did not echo with anyone else's unfinished story. She kept going. Some mornings still hurt. The smell of lemon cleaner could pitch her into memory. Boxes, keys gone, panic sprinting through her chest. She sat on the kitchen floor into the 5-4-3-2-1 Ms. Reese taught her. 5 things seen: mug, basil, window, light rug. For felt, tile, shirt, ring, breath. 3 heard, fan, train, neighbors laugh. 2 smelled, coffee, soap. 1 tasted, mint. Sometimes she added colors, 5 greens for blues, 3 browns, to give her brain something gentle to hold. By the time she reached taste, the storm inside had crossed town, muttering to itself with less authority. She watered basil and whispered, "We're good." Work made sense again. Her raise arrived tucked inside a heavier badge and better hours. She didn't post. She bought a fan that hummed "You're safe" and a couch that didn't complain when Joy sat down. On Saturdays, she walked the Beltline, learning the jasmine spots and which mural caught sunset best, naming stranger dogs: Button, Sir Wiggles, Gloria. On Sundays, she roasted vegetables, read API Docs Are Fun, and called her grandmother's sister, who saved every postcard. They talked about good butter and better boundaries, until laughter rinsed the day clean and the apartment exhaled like a practice instrument. The family checked in at odd angles. A cousin forwarded a story where he called unnamed haters dream killers. It expired in 24 hours, the way most blames do. Another cousin asked if she regretted being so corporate. She smiled at the word like a stone she'd finally stopped swallowing. Structure hadn't caged her, it had rescued her. The invoices and aftercare marked paid one by one, and she kept her promises to herself first. Sleep, water, stretch, and call the people who call you back. The world didn't end when her yes got smaller and truer. She breathed. Aftercare's tiny launch fit on a table. Grocery store cupcakes, a busted playlist, and Aunt and niece on FaceTime, wearing a church hat shaped like sunrise. The cooperative in Baltimore asked about licensing. A nonprofit in Oakland wanted a pilot. They passed napkins like notes in class and argued about frosting hierarchy, landing on cream cheese as uncontested queen. Someone miskeyed the playlist into a gospel banger, and nobody fixed it because the joy fit perfectly. Zola hugged her so hard she squeaked. She looked. A tool that existed, a check that cleared, a life no longer overdrawing itself. She breathed. He surfaced with an accusation disguised as news. "I heard you parking domains," he wrote. "Wild, petty." He suggested coffee to clear the air, appended a winking emoji like punctuation might soften entitlement. She answered with a courtesy line. Contact owner for invoices, and attached totals he still refused to read. He replied with a photo of a half-packed suitcase captioned "Starting Fresh." She hoped he did, not from tenderness but pragmatism. Grown work was the only way anyone changed. She saved the thread to her folder, returned to her tickets, and let the urge to answer dissolve. She breathed. On Tybee and off-season, she rented 2 wind-salted nights to test her own edges. The water was gray and honest. Gulls heckled the pier, and nobody knew her business. She ate shrimp standing up and let the Atlantic comb tangled thoughts. Pelicans dove like blunt arrows, missing sometimes, trying again without shame. She texted Zola a photo of sandals and the word progress. Hearts flew back like confetti she didn't have to sweep. Back in the room, she wrote 3 sentences on hotel stationery for her future self and tucked them in her wallet like emergency light. She breathed. When she returned, the garnishment ticked along like a metronome, and her savings crossed a new desk line. She chose oak that wouldn't wobble and a chair that wouldn't groan. She assembled them slowly while a podcast murmured about sustainable scaling. Even her workspace now refused to sag under someone else's weight. She named the Wi-Fi backlog Begone and stored the old password in a file called Past. She named her folders with verbs: build, rest, call, so every click reminded her what she practiced. Not everything needed taxonomy, but the things that did finally had one she trusted. A letter from the court confirmed the last payment date. She taped a photocopy inside the keep folder beside the demand letter and the smiley note, then slid everything into a fireproof box. Some victories you displayed, others you preserved. She brewed coffee strong and dark, opened her window to the city's hum, and answered Baltimore with a yes. The licensing check arrived weeks later, tidy and undramatic. She moved a slice to a fund labeled Blue Water and a slice to Community. Because survival had been collective, she set a reminder titled, Keep Going, and smiled at the ritual. Her grandmother's sister mailed a postcard with soft, looping script. Proud of you, baby. Remember to laugh. She pinned it above the new desk with blue painter's tape that wouldn't scar the wall. She laughed more on purpose, not to soften anyone's temper but to oxygenate her own. She learned which indulgences felt like care rather than punishment. Sometimes it was a slow walk at dusk. Sometimes it was unsubscribing without guilt. Sometimes it was replying later. She used a timer for deep work and deep rest, because both were muscles she intended to keep strong long after crisis. He tried one final time, not with apology but with theater, a long message about destiny delayed and love tested by systems. It named no harms, offered no repair, and asked for access back. She read it twice to prove she could, then archived it without reply. A quiet vote for the future she was provisioning. That night her companions brought tacos and seltzers and clinked glasses, not to celebrate his fall, but to honor their circle's endurance. They traded outage stories and heartbreak reruns, annotating both with lessons learned while the bill disappeared under 3 generous hands. She breathed. She pointed the rescue domain to a simple page. Aftercare helps you get paid without turning yourself into a collection agency. We keep receipts so you can keep your peace. No saga, no subtext, just boundary and code. She clicked save, refreshed once, and walked the apartment slowly, touching door frames like checkpoints. Boundaries, she decided, should feel like warmth rather than fences bristling with fear. She pictured a green flag planted in good soil, not waved frantically over a cliff, and promised not to mistake scarcity for depth again. The page sat steady, ordinary, and exactly enough. She breathed. Love would return when it was ready. She believed that now without clutching. It would find her at a desk she bought herself, in a chair that didn't wobble, in a home where doors opened for people who showed their work and repaired what they broke. She wouldn't demand perfection. She would require reciprocity. Softness, yes. Subsidy, no. On the anniversary of their rooftop dance, Rain rinsed Atlanta again. She brewed coffee, merged a pull request, and texted Zola a photo of the new desk caption stable release. Her life compiled clean. She pressed the door, solid, certain, and breathed. Afternoon slid across her coffee-colored wall, and the fan murmured like a good secret. She opened her window to the city's ordinary orchestra and listened for the note that used to mean danger. It never arrived. She watered the basil, answered Oakland about the pilot, and paid a bill early just because she could. Her standards had grown teeth and manners, both. Boundaries had not made her smaller. They had carved a hallway where joy could travel without tripping on someone else's unfinished business. She kept going steadily today with quiet, bold, calm purpose forward. She breathed. He remained a blur far down some other road, framed by weather she no longer tracked. She wished him work and closed the tab. She turned off a light she no longer needed, then stood in the doorway of the home she provisioned carefully. Resilient, observable, and rate-limited against ruin. Outside, a train threaded the city like a steady thought. She breathed with it. 3 counts in and 4 counts out, and let the promise of ordinary days stretch wide enough to live inside. She pressed her palm to the door, solid, certain, and felt her life hold completely. Subscribe and turn on the notification bell, so you never miss a powerful story drop.